Ivan the Terrible, Russia's first Tsar, a ruler who combined political brilliance with extreme brutality. In the annals of history, few rulers have inspired as much dread and fascination as he did. His reign was marked not by benevolence or wisdom, but by a chilling reputation for cruelty and the calculated use of terror. He was infamous for holding official torture sessions, events that were not hidden in the shadows, but rather conducted with a disturbing sense of ceremony and authority. These sessions were not merely acts of punishment, they were deliberate displays of power, designed to instill fear in the hearts of both the nobility and the common people. The ruler understood that fear was a potent tool, perhaps even more effective than the sword or the law. By making examples of those who dared to defy him, he sent a clear message. Loyalty was rewarded, but dissent would be crushed without mercy. The dungeons beneath his castle became a symbol of his rule, a place where the screams of the condemned echoed through the stone corridors, serving as a constant reminder of his absolute control. Nobles who once schemed and plotted in the shadows now found themselves treading carefully, their ambitions tempered by the ever-present threat of torture. Even the most powerful lords and ladies, accustomed to wielding influence and commanding respect, were not immune to his wrath. Many were summoned to witness the punishments, forced to watch as their peers suffered, their own fates hanging in the balance. The ruler's message was clear. No one was above his authority. For the common people, life under his rule was a daily exercise in caution. Whispers of rebellion were quickly silenced, and rumors of informants spread through villages and towns. Parents warned their children to be careful with their words, and neighbors eyed each other with suspicion. The ruler's soldiers patrolled the streets, their presence a constant reminder that any act of defiance, no matter how small, could lead to a summons to the dreaded chambers below the castle. Yet, despite the climate of fear, there were those who dared to resist. Secret gatherings took place in the dead of night, where brave souls plotted ways to undermine the ruler's grip on power. These acts of defiance were met with swift and brutal retribution, further fueling the legend of his cruelty. Stories spread of ingenious tortures and elaborate punishments, each tale more horrifying than the last. Whether all of these stories were true or exaggerated by terrified subjects, they served their purpose, to keep the population in a state of perpetual anxiety. The ruler's methods were not limited to physical torment. Psychological warfare was another weapon in his arsenal. He would summon nobles to his court, forcing them to watch the suffering of others, or subjecting them to public humiliation. He reveled in the power he held over their minds, knowing that the anticipation of pain could be as effective as the pain itself. His spies were everywhere, reporting even the slightest hint of disloyalty. Trust became a rare commodity, and alliances were forged and broken in the shadows. Despite the darkness of his reign, there were moments when the ruler showed a different face to the world. He hosted lavish feasts and grand tournaments, inviting the nobility to partake in displays of wealth and power. But even these celebrations were tinged with unease, as everyone present knew that a single misstep could lead to disaster. The ruler's laughter echoed through the halls, but it was a sound that chilled the blood of all who heard it. In the end, his legacy was one of fear and control. He ruled not through love or respect, but through the ever-present threat of pain and suffering. His name became synonymous with terror, a warning to all who might consider challenging his authority. And though his reign eventually came to an end, the stories of his cruelty lived on, a testament to the power of fear in the hands of a ruthless ruler. He imposed harsh and unforgiving laws, where punishment was swift and severe, reinforcing his image as a ruler who never hesitated. But behind this cruelty was a sharp political mind, a mind that was not only ruthless, but also deeply strategic, calculating, and in many ways ahead of its time. Ivan IV, known to history as Ivan the Terrible, is often remembered for his violent outbursts, his paranoia, and the terror he unleashed upon his own people. Yet to focus solely on his brutality is to miss the complexity of his rule and the profound impact he had on the shape of Russian history. Ivan was a ruler who understood the power of fear, but he also understood the necessity of order, the importance of centralization, and the value of legacy. His reign was marked by a series of bold, sometimes shocking decisions that would forever alter the course of the Russian state. Ivan's political genius lay in his ability to see the bigger picture. He recognized that the old ways of governing, a patchwork of semi-independent princes and feudal lords, were holding Russia back. To create a powerful, unified state, Ivan set out to break the power of the boyars, the traditional aristocracy who had long acted as rivals to the throne. Through a combination of cunning diplomacy, calculated violence, and sweeping reforms, he centralized authority in the hands of the Tsar. Ivan established the Oprichnina, a separate territory under his direct control, enforced by his loyal and fearsome Oprichniki. This move was both a tool of terror and a means of consolidating power, allowing Ivan to bypass the traditional nobility and rule with unprecedented authority. He restructured the government, creating new administrative bodies and legal codes that would bring greater efficiency and control to the sprawling Russian lands. Ivan's reforms touched every aspect of society, from the military to the church, from the courts to the countryside. He introduced a new law code, the Sudebnik of 1550, which standardized legal procedures and sought to curb corruption. He also reformed the military, introducing new units and tactics that would make Russia a formidable force on the battlefield. Ivan's ambitions did not stop at internal reform. He was determined to expand Russia's borders and secure its place as a major power. Under his rule, Russia pushed eastward, conquering the Khanates of Kazan and Astrakhan, opening up vast new territories for settlement and trade. These victories were not just military triumphs. They were symbolic acts that signaled the rise of a new Russian empire. Ivan encouraged exploration and colonization, sending Cossacks and settlers into the wild, untamed lands beyond the Volga River. He sought to open new trade routes, reaching out to England and other European powers in hopes of breaking the stranglehold of the Hanseatic League. Ivan's vision was of a Russia that was strong, unified, and respected on the world stage. He saw himself as the heir to the Byzantine emperors, the protector of Orthodox Christianity, and the founder of a new, enduring dynasty. His reign was a time of great change, of both suffering and progress, of darkness and of light. The Russia that emerged from Ivan's rule was a different country, larger, more centralized, and more powerful than ever before. And honestly, Ivan the Terrible laid the early foundations of the Russia we know today. His legacy is complicated, marked by both terror and transformation. The institutions he built, the territories he conquered, and the vision he pursued would shape the destiny of Russia for centuries to come. Even now, the echoes of his reign can be felt in the architecture of Moscow, in the laws and traditions of the Russian state, and in the very identity of the Russian people. Ivan's story is a reminder that history is rarely simple, and that even the darkest figures can leave behind a legacy of lasting change. Ivan the Terrible, or Ivan the Fourth of Vasilievich, stands as one of the most enigmatic and controversial figures in Russian history. Born in 1530, he ascended to the throne at the tender age of 3, following the death of his father, Grand Prince Vasily III. His early years were marked by turmoil and intrigue, as the Russian court was rife with power struggles and betrayals. These formative experiences would shape Ivan's character, instilling in him a deep sense of suspicion and a fierce determination to assert his authority. As the first ruler to be officially crowned as Tsar of all Russia in 1547, Ivan the Terrible transformed the very nature of Russian monarchy. He was not merely a king, but a sovereign who claimed divine right, positioning himself as God's chosen representative on earth. This new title was more than ceremonial. It signaled a shift in the Russian psyche, elevating the ruler above the nobility and centralizing power in the hands of the Tsar. Ivan's reign was a paradoxical blend of innovation and brutality. On one hand, he was a visionary reformer. He introduced sweeping changes to the Russian legal code, known as the Sudebnik of 1550, which sought to standardize laws and curb the abuses of local officials. He established the Zemsky Sobor, an early form of parliamentary assembly, giving a voice, however limited, to the broader population. Ivan also reformed the military, creating the Streltsy, a standing army that would become a formidable force in Russian politics for centuries. But Ivan's genius was matched by his capacity for terror. Haunted by paranoia and convinced that enemies lurked everywhere, he unleashed the Oprichnina, a secret police force that operated with ruthless efficiency. The Oprichniki, dressed in black and riding black horses, became symbols of fear, carrying out mass executions, torture, and the confiscation of property from those suspected of disloyalty. Entire towns were razed, and thousands perished in a climate of suspicion and dread. Yet despite, or perhaps because of, his reign of terror, Ivan left an indelible mark on Russia's destiny. Under his rule, the Russian state expanded dramatically. He led successful campaigns against the Khanates of Kazan and Astrakhan, bringing vast territories along the Volga River under Russian control. These conquests not only secured vital trade routes, but also laid the groundwork for Russia's emergence as a multi-ethnic empire, stretching from Europe to Asia. Ivan's ambitions extended even further. He dreamed of making Russia a major European power, seeking alliances with England and other Western nations. He encouraged trade with the English Muscovy Company and invited foreign artisans and engineers to modernize Russian industry and fortifications. The construction of St. Basil's Cathedral, with its iconic onion domes, stands as a testament to the cultural flowering that occurred during his reign. But Ivan's personal life was marred by tragedy and violence. His beloved wife, Anastasia Romanovna, died under mysterious circumstances, an event that plunged him into a deep depression and fueled the suspicions of the boyars, the Russian nobility. In a fit of rage, Ivan even killed his own son and heir, an act that has come to symbolize the destructive power of unchecked authority. Despite his many flaws, Ivan the Terrible's legacy is undeniable. He forged the foundations of the modern Russian state, centralizing power and expanding its borders. he left behind a nation that was both feared and respected, a land of immense potential and profound contradictions. His reign serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of absolute power, but also as a reminder of the transformative impact a single leader can have on the course of history. To this day, Ivan the Terrible remains a figure of fascination and debate. Was he a mad tyrant, consumed by paranoia and cruelty? Or was he a visionary ruler, willing to do whatever it took to secure Russia's future? The truth, as is often the case with history's most complex characters, lies somewhere in between. What is certain is that Ivan's shadow still looms large over Russia, shaping its identity and its destiny in ways that continue to resonate through the centuries.